Hey everyone! Thanks for being a part of Popcorn Tales. We started small but with full confidence that you love our stories. Your support means everything, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Exciting news! We are launching a horror podcast soon. Get ready for spine-chilling stories made just for you. Stay tuned, and we hope you love it. Today's story comes from one of our awesome subscribers, Rahim. We re-narrating it on his behalf. The Whispering Garden. I never believed in ghosts. Sure, I had heard stories, old ladies in my building whispered about spirits wandering near the temple, kids talked about the statue that moved at night, but I always laughed it off. Superstitions. That's all they were until that night. Until I heard the whispers. There's a garden near my house. A peaceful place during the day, kids playing, old uncles discussing politics, college couples holding hands in the corner benches. It even has a small Lord Ganesha temple in the center, surrounded by trees. But at night, the garden changes. The lights flicker. The swings creak, even when there's no wind. And the statues, well, some say they turn their heads when no one is looking. I never believed any of it. But then came that night. The first incident, it was around 9:15 p.m. I had gone for a walk in the garden's big playground, just behind the temple. My mind was lost in thought when, chan. I stopped. The sound of anklets. Clear. Close. Right next to me. I turned quickly. Nothing. The playground was empty. Just a few dim streetlights flickering in the distance. I swallowed hard and took another step. Chan. Again. This time, louder. As if someone was walking beside me. My legs froze. My breath caught in my throat. I listened carefully. It wasn't the sound of leaves rustling. Not the wind. Not an insect. It was footsteps. Anklets jingling with every step. I didn't wait. I ran. Ran straight out of the playground, past the swings and slides, past the darkened benches, until I reached the temple. I stopped, panting. The temple always made me feel safe. I turned to look back at the playground. The sound was gone. Had I imagined it? Was it just my mind playing tricks on me? Or was there someone walking beside me that I couldn't see? I didn't want to know. I muttered a quick Hanuman Chalisa under my breath and left the garden that night. I decided never to walk there alone at night again. The second incident 2 weeks later, I forgot that decision. It was a pleasant evening, and I found myself back at the garden. This time, I stayed near the Lord Ganesha temple. I was standing a few meters away from the temple, scrolling on my phone, when something made me look up. Through the gaps between the trees, I could see the inside of the temple. And someone was walking inside. I could only see a shadowy figure, moving slowly. I thought it was a priest. Or maybe someone had gone in to pray. But something felt off. I stepped forward, moving past the trees until I had a clear view of the temple entrance. My heart skipped a beat. The temple was empty. The figure I had seen just a second ago was gone. I stood there, staring. The temple was small, with only one door. No one could have left that quickly. I took a step closer, peering inside. The lamp flickered softly. The idol of Lord Ganesha sat peacefully in the center. Nothing. No one. A chill ran down my spine. Had I just seen a spirit? A ghostly presence moving inside the temple? Or was it something else? Something watching me from the shadows? The last incident. I never wanted to return after that. But last night, something happened. I was lying in bed when my phone buzzed. A message from my friend, Amit. Bro, are you in the garden? I frowned. No, why? Amit replied immediately. I swear I just saw you near the temple. A chill spread through my body. I hadn't stepped into the garden in days. I typed quickly, that wasn't me. For a long time, there was no reply. Then, finally, Amit sent a final message. Bro, whoever it was, it looked exactly like you. So now I ask you, were all these incidents just my imagination? Or is there something in that garden, hiding in the dark, taking our shapes, walking beside us, whispering in the night? Next time you visit a lonely garden at night, listen carefully. If you hear anklets behind you, run.
Next story is from Jasmine, narrating through her point of view. The drowned woman of Nerul Lake. Have you ever brought something home that wasn't supposed to leave? I did not mean to, but she followed me. It happened when I was 16. My father, a real estate developer, was working on a construction site in Nerul, Navi Mumbai, near a large, silent lake. One Sunday, my parents and I visited the site. After lunch, I wandered toward the lake. It was beautiful, calm, still, almost too quiet. As I stood near the edge, staring into the dark green water, I felt something strange. Able, as if the lake itself was calling me. I do not remember how long I stood there, but when my mother called my name, I snapped out of it. We left, had dinner outside, came home, and that's when everything changed. The fever. The next morning, I woke up with a high fever. Chills racked my body. My legs ached like I had run a marathon. At first, my parents thought it was just the flu. But then, the pattern began. Every day, I felt fine. But as soon as the sun went down, my fever returned. By midnight, my body burned like fire. The pain became unbearable. No medicine worked. The worst part? I could feel someone in my room. Watching. Waiting. After a week, my parents panicked. All my blood reports were normal, but my condition only worsened. Then, one night, I spoke. In a language I had never learned. The voice that was not mine, I do not remember what I said. But my mother told me later. That night, I started crying in my sleep. My body twisted unnaturally, and my voice changed. I spoke in Marathi. Fluent, ancient Marathi. The problem? I don't speak Marathi. Not a single word. Terrified, my mother called my father. They did not understand what I was saying. But someone else did. Our building's watchman. He listened. His face turned pale. He folded his hands in prayer. And then, he whispered, "It's her. The woman in the lake." The spirit spoke through me that night. She told her story. She was a young woman, a fisherman's wife, who lived near the lake years ago. Her husband, a violent drunk, accused her of betrayal. One stormy night, he dragged her to the lake. She begged. She screamed. He didn't care. He drowned her, pushed her deep, deep into the water, and held her there until she stopped struggling. Then, he walked away as if nothing had happened. Her body was never found. Her soul remained, waiting, crying for someone to hear her. And that someone was me. The warning. My father, shaken, asked, "What do you want?" Through my mouth, she answered, "Bring me out of the lake. Give me peace." She didn't want revenge. She didn't want to harm me. She just wanted to rest. My father promised to do everything she asked. He assured her we would perform the final rites. That night, my fever finally broke. For the first time in 15 days, I slept peacefully. But my father, he forgot. The accident. Weeks passed. Life returned to normal. The lake, the whispers, the spirit, all faded from memory. Until the accident. I was coming back from school when a speeding bike hit me. It wasn't serious. Just a few bruises. But as I lay on the ground, dazed, I heard a woman's voice. "You promised." A cold wind rushed past me. That night, I screamed again. Not in pain. In rage. But it wasn't my rage. It was hers. My father finally understood. The last goodbye. The very next day, my father and the watchman went back to the lake. They hired divers. And there, beneath the murky water, they found it. A skeleton. Her remains. Exactly where she said. That evening, we performed her final rites, a proper cremation, prayers, and offerings to set her free. The moment the last ritual was complete, a gust of warm wind surrounded us. Like a sigh of relief. And then, silence. She was gone. Forever. The promise. Years have passed. Every year, on the same date, my father donates food and clothes to widows and young girls in her memory. It wasn't part of her request. But we do it anyway. Because some promises should never be forgotten.